Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of System Shock Radio. I, as always, am your host Nigel, and today I got some interesting topics for you guys. Before we get into that though, just a couple quick announcements. For starters, the O.J. Simpson video is officially up on my YouTube channel, so if you have already, go check that out. I shared it to my timeline, but you can also check it out on YouTube, on my channel under my name, Nigel Dixie. So go check that out, and while you're there, if you haven't already, please subscribe, of course. And the other thing is that I haven't quite decided yet what I want to do with Nigel Dixie's Tales from the Labyrinth, and whether I want to do that pre-recorded or live as well. But I will probably reach a decision about that later on in the week, so stay tuned for that as well. Also, without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, and also really quickly, because I haven't officially said it yet, I don't think, happy Black History Month, everyone. But yep, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So our first topic is a question, actually, and it turns out there's actually quite a few questions that are going to be in this episode. The first is, should there be a new Spawn movie? Now, at this point in time when this video is being released, there isn't officially news of a Spawn movie, a new one, but hopefully there is one soon. And the reason I asked this question, though, is because the last Spawn movie we got way back in the 90s, starring Michael Jai White, was not the greatest. And one of the main reasons for that was the effects. The effects of the 90s weren't really that fantastic, and especially within this movie, they really did not look that well. So, with how far CGI and graphics and stuff like that have come in this day and age, are we overdue for a brand new Spawn movie? Now, Spawn isn't completely irrelevant within our society. He was one of the DLC characters for Mortal Kombat 11, among other celebrity characters such as Joker, Terminator, Rambo, and stuff. But they all had movies recently, with Terminator coming out, I think, either around or before Mortal Kombat 11, when he was DLC, and then, of course, the Joker movie came out in 2019 when Mortal Kombat 11 was released. So, Spawn is the only one who doesn't seem to have one, which kind of sucks because Spawn's a really cool character. Now, I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about Spawn, but what I do know is that his abilities are pretty cool and interesting. So, a little backstory on who Spawn is. Basically, he was a former police officer who was murdered, and he turned into a hell spawn by the devil. So, he's kind of similar almost to Ghost Rider in those regards, I'm sure. One likely inspired the other, but Spawn, a pretty interesting character. I'd love to see him get a movie nowadays, and I'd love to see it with like a new coat of paint, my apologies, and new effects that they have nowadays. I think it can be pulled off and look really good. Who would play Spawn, I'm not entirely sure, but hopefully it's someone pretty good. Michael Jai White did a pretty decent job. I think the one thing that did the Spawn movie in, like I said, those effects, real bad. But so yeah, so if you want to see a brand new Spawn movie, let me know. Or if you don't want to see one, also let me know. Now the next topic is going to be Bloons Tower Defense. Now, Bloons Tower Defense is a series of tower defense games that have been around for a while now. I remember I used to play them all the time back in elementary school on the computer lab, over on like cool math games and stuff like that, back when they weren't blocked on our school servers. And basically the goal is that there's these balloons, It's called Bloons, Bloons, not balloons, but Bloons, and they're pretty much evil, and you pretty much gotta pop them using various monkeys and or towers. So there's stuff like the dart monkey, which is like the standard tower. There's the bomb monkey. There's the glue gunner, which can slow them down, although when you upgrade him in later games, he would get like corrosive glue. There's tack shooters. There's even a super monkey. It's a really fun game. I have BTD 6. It's on my phone, so I play that a lot when I'm out and about on the go. And real fun franchise. I haven't played Bloons Tower Defense Battles 2. From what I heard, I'm not missing much, but it's a really, really fun and interesting series. And I remember playing Bloons all the way since like the first one back when Flash was still a thing. But Bloons Tower Defense 5 and 6, as well as other games such as Bloons Tower Defense Battles and Monkey City as well. So if you haven't give it a play for a little bit. Now it's not really for everyone. It's more of like almost like a tycoon style game where you put it down and simulate and see what happens. But you can build a great defense. You can put a lot of towers on screen. You can absolutely annihilate some of the balloons, and it's actually a lot of fun and a pretty interesting game in my opinion. So with that being said, let's move on to another question. There's another question again, and it's also kind of a Mortal Kombat question, and similar to how Spawn is in Mortal Kombat. The question is, should there be another Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe game? So we got Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe in 2008, and it sucked. A lot of stuff about this game really wasn't that great. There was very little gore, which pretty much seems like blasphemy for the Mortal Kombat game. So Mortal Kombat with no gore? What? That's what Mortal Kombat's known for, but apparently the excuse was that DC didn't want a very gory game because they didn't want to see their DC characters as like super dark, even though there was a lot of DC stories that are pretty dark. There's stuff like Death in the Family, Under the Red Hood, stuff like Hush, and that's all just Batman. But they didn't want their DC characters to be portrayed in a dark light, because DC, while it does have its dark stories, is also sometimes portrayed as very family friendly, which is why they have stuff like the Lego stuff for DC, or like the Saturday morning cartoons like Super Friends or Justice League or Batman the Animated Series. But so they didn't want their characters to be portrayed as dark. But this was back in 2008. By the time 2011 rolled around, that's when we got Injustice, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. But Injustice was a very dark DC game, and it worked. It wasn't like super gory like Mortal Kombat games, but it was still very dark, and it worked really well, to the point where it even got a sequel, and some even wanted to have another sequel. We're patiently waiting for an Injustice 3, and you know what? I'm one of those people. But now that the DC lore can be trusted to be dark, although it kind of already was for years, is another Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe game. This time with a darker element and actual good stuff in it. Is it warranted? Now, the thing is, even if it wasn't gory, it didn't necessarily have to be. It just had to be pretty good and interesting, and it kind of just fell flat. But hopefully, now that DC, like I said, can be trusted to be dark, now hopefully we get another Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe game, and it's actually pretty good, especially with characters like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Raiden appearing in the Injustice games, and then Joker appearing in Mortal Kombat 11. Could that be the sign that we are getting Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe 2, or at least a reboot of sorts? But For now, that's just speculation. Nothing on it has been announced, but can't wait to see. Apparently they are gonna do another Mortal Kombat game, but especially now that we have the Mortal Kombat movie and it's getting a sequel. But hopefully we can also get a new, better Mortal Kombat versus DC universe. But next we're gonna talk about NXT 2.0 so far. Now, NXT 2.0 has been around for a few months now. It came around kind of late last year, and so far reception's been mixed. Now, I don't necessarily want to compare it to NXT Black and Gold, which is the NXT that most of us know and love just yet, because it hasn't been a full year, and that's not really fair. Or to 2.0, but I will talk about so far. So far, it's been okay, I guess. Now, I will say this about NXT 2.0. I like the concept of what it's trying to do. It has legs. So basically, the whole premise of this new NXT 2.0 is that it's trying to build more like homegrown stars, which WWE doesn't really have a lot of nowadays. There's only like the latest like homegrown star success story that at least I can think of has been Roman Reigns, and that even took years to do. But building these homegrown stars, these young superstars who haven't really had a lot of time in the business, whereas Black and Gold, there was a lot more established stars. You had Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, the entire Undisputed Era even, Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, Walter, superstars like that, where they made their names elsewhere before coming to NXT. You know, there was Aleister Black, there was Keith Lee, these guys who made their names elsewhere before coming to NXT, and they did help make NXT a third brand, but NXT was always meant to be more developmental anyway, and it was in some regards still, but now they're trying to go back to that. But I feel like they've kind of lost some of those elements. For starters, they fired a lot of the people who helped make the first NXT a success. Now, granted, I understand wanting to have this new NXT go in a different direction as opposed to the old NXT, but why fire the guys who helped get the old NXT up there? Like, if they were able to do that with that NXT, imagine what they could do with this NXT. So guys like Road Dogg and William Regal are no longer in the company. And that, some people speculated that it was personally aimed at Triple H, because NXT was pretty much like his baby. Like, NXT was his pride and joy. Like, he really built NXT. And with Triple H at the helm, we got some of the best in NXT. NXT outperformed the main roster for quite a bit, especially in like its heyday, where guys like Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, or Gargano or Ciampa were there. But Triple H, of course, is still out. He had the issue with his heart a little while back, so he's still recovering from that. So he wasn't really able to be there, and a lot of people who were upset because it felt like Triple H, he sadly, because of his condition, had to pretty much sit at home and watch as the NXT he built up pretty much was torn to the ground. But like I said, I do kind of like what the new NXT is going for. There's already some emerging new stars that are being presented, such as Braun Breaker and Tony D'Angelo, or Cora Jade, who, fun fact, is actually younger than me. That's the only superstar I know of in NXT who's actually younger than me. Is this what being old feels like? But yeah, there's them. There's Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers of the Diamond Mine. So, the concept is there. It has legs. It can work. But they just need to figure out what to do. And I think the other thing that turned people off from it is that it was such a jarring change. So at one point, we went from NXT Black and Gold pretty much overnight to brand new NXT 2.0 Oh, I literally remember vividly that we saw like the design for the more colorful NXT logo on W's Twitter page, and then from there we just go right into NXT 2.0, and a lot of people, myself included, were like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what is this? Why this sort of breakneck transition? If it was done more like built up more slowly and everything, I think reception to it would have been a lot better. But because that didn't happen, we unfortunately feel turned off by the new product and everything. Now, I do like that some of the newer talent is starting to get in the bigger title in the title pictures, but also bigger storylines on the new NXT, like Bron Breakker. He's NXT champion right now. Carmelo Hayes, he's North American champion. The Creed brothers are likely to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Cora Jade seems to be next in line for the NXT Women's Championship. So it looks like 2.0 is slowly starting to find their footing, but those rough patches, I feel like, kind of did them in, to the point where even the higher-ups in WWE weren't satisfied with how NXT 2.0 was going. But growing pains I get. Need I remind you, let's not forget that the original NXT kind of sucked too before Triple H took it over. So there's room for improvement, of course. Whereas it's still, and that's why I say it's kind of not fair to compare it, because this is like 2.0's first year of doing this. We gotta do a retrospect after a full year, and that's probably what I'll do. So, which is why I say 2.0 so far. But with that being said, next up, and I promise this is the last question for this video, is should PlayStation have another portable console? Now, over on my Instagram page, not the one I use regularly, which is the Dark Knight 716, but the Nigelverse Instagram page. Go follow that if you haven't already. I asked, should PlayStation have another mobile console? You know, Nintendo's was making profit with the Nintendo Switch. They're about to have a new OLED model coming out soon. So, should PlayStation get back in on the portable scene? Now, granted, PlayStation is no spring chicken. They've had two portable consoles in the past. There's the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, and the PlayStation Vita. So, PlayStation's made portable consoles, but it's a handheld, not handheld, home consoles, I should say, where PlayStation really excels and everything. And now, Nintendo's proven they can do both, and so is PlayStation a bit. But I don't know if PlayStation necessarily needs a mobile console right now, especially with the PlayStation 5 still being relatively new. It's only been around, I think since like last year, either the year before, but it doesn't seem like PlayStation really needs a mobile console right now. I think just having the PlayStation home consoles are doing just fine for them. It'd be nice to see another PlayStation mobile console, especially one that could possibly compete with a Nintendo Switch. But for now, I don't know if it's necessarily necessary. You know, granted, if business starts to slump and PlayStation is in trouble, which I kind of don't see happening anytime soon, but I could be wrong, then I'd say maybe it's time to fight back against the Switch. And they'd have a pretty tough time competing against the Nintendo Switch, not just because Nintendo Switch is a mobile console, but because of the dual function of the Switch also converting into a home console. That's kind of tough to beat. And but PlayStation, I think so far for right now, are fine where they are. But we'll see later on down the line. So let me know you guys' thoughts on that. And finally, the final topic I'm going to talk about is having a good support network. Why is the support network important? And it keeps you up, you know? It keeps you afloat, keeps you motivated, stuff like that. And look at a building, right? It's got foundation, it's got pillars, it's got stuff holding it up. If a building has bad foundation, it's going to topple over and fall, and that would be very, very bad. And so having a group of people who are behind you, who support you, who good friends who tell you what you need to hear, even if it's not necessarily what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, who will motivate you, pick you up when you're down, and you do the same for them. That's fantastic, having a good support network, because let's face it, while we try to do stuff on our own, not everyone can and do everything on their own. And sometimes you gotta have those people that will pick you up when you're down, and you do the same for them, of course. And I feel like having a support network, whether good or bad, makes all the difference. Having a bad support network can lead a lot of people to trouble. Like it can be detrimental for some people, but having a good support network, having people around you that love and care for you and care for your best interests and everything is crucial, and it's essential to you as a person. And it's not saying you can't do stuff on your own, because there's some stuff you can do on your own, and in fact there's some stuff you have to do on your own. But having that support network, even when you have to do stuff alone, can really make the difference. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And I will see you guys later. And remember, if you haven't checked out the O.J. Simpson video already, definitely do that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram at TheNigelVerse. And I will see you guys later. Peace.